Good morning, beloveds. I woke up this morning and went, is it raining? No, it was just foggy. It's very foggy. Apparently, our lows have been in the 70s and our highs have been in the 80s. Well, this morning it dropped to 62. So the moisture in the air went, oh, well, let's just condense. So, all right. It is December 30th. And our title is I Determine My Own Demonstrations. Our quote is, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." And that is Proverbs 23:7. Okay. The Lord God omnipotent created me as a free and full expression of itself. I have the freedom of the mind which brought me forth to express its ideas. I choose, and divine law produces. There is no power to hinder me, and no law to refuse me. All of life is mine to use for good, and this I do. Backed up by omnipotence, I determine my own results. I have no one to blame for my mistakes, not even myself. I refuse to believe that the world acts upon me, for I know that I act upon the world. My thinking is my environment, and God is my heredity. I alibi no longer. I face the facts of my own conclusions. I am determined to demonstrate what I want. Today, I have unlimited health. God's life in me guarantees this. As I praise life, health, strength, and vitality, they arise within me and give of themselves through me. I shall not be tired at the end of this day, for I am constantly renewed by inner power. God's mind in me is my source of health, and this mind never ceases thinking rightly about me. It never is defeated by my fears and confusions. It forever acts, and now I let its actions be my health and my vitality. Strong in the Lord, I accomplish without straying. All things are easy, and all work is a pleasure. I rejoice in my God-given health. I rejoice in the power and strength that are mine. Today I have peace of mind. It matters not what others believe, nor what others do. I know Spirit who created me, and I abide in Spirit's love. I refuse to let the material thinking of others influence me. I am not dependent on the world. The world is dependent on me. The contagion of evil will I can't even say the word. The contagion of evil will find no welcome in my consciousness. There is nothing in me to agree with it. Therefore, I cannot express its falsities. I know a divine plan, a divine purpose, and a divine law of action. This is my all-sufficiency. My peace comes from my knowledge of God as my source, my life, and my deliverance. My demonstration is because I know so deeply that it must be. I give thanks that this is so. And that last line caught me. I know so deeply that it must be. It reminds me of when Ruth said, I want to know these teachings in my bones. I want to know them so deeply that they're written in my bones. And so I was like, okay. And there were a couple of lines in here that caught me off guard. So we're going to think about these. So the title is I Determine My Own Demonstrations, which is exactly what Science of Mind. At the core of Science of Mind, what we teach is that you are at choice. You are always at choice. Sometimes the only choice you have is how you feel about a situation, how you respond to a situation or react to a situation. And that may be the only choice you have. But once you make that choice, it kicks off a domino of other choices that you can make. And you can choose your way out of a situation. And not making a choice is still a choice. So you really do have the power to make your own demonstrations by the choices that you make. So what we want you to know at the core of everything is you are at choice. You have a choice in the matter. Even when you think you don't, you still do. The Proverbs Proverbs is, for as he thinketh in his heart, so he is. Which is why I talk about the trend of your thoughts. We can talk about your heart all you want, but what's in your heart is going to be reflected in your thoughts, and where your thoughts trend to go. We don't have to analyze every little thought. What we want to do is pay attention to the overarching. It's like, all right, do you have more positive thoughts? Do you have more negative thoughts? Do you have more loving thoughts? You know, what do you tend to think about the most? And then the occasional little weed, you can weed those out. That's not what you want to worry about. Because your thoughts reflect your heart. Your heart's who you are. So the Lord God omnipotent created me as a free and full expression of itself. Right there. You are a free and full expression of God. You are a free and full expression of Spirit. You are free, because that's what we teach, but you are also full. You are whole. You are everything that you are supposed to be. You are not lacking anything. And you are an expression of God or Spirit or the divine or whatever it is that makes you the most comfortable. Use those words. I have the freedom of the mind which brought me forth to express its ideas. We have access to the divine mind. We can't access all of it at once, but we have access to all of it. We just got to make up our mind about what we want. I choose, and divine law produces. The operative word being I choose. You have to make a choice. There is no power to hinder me, no law to refuse me, because the law cannot refuse you. The law doesn't judge. So it's like, oh, there's a lot of emotion here. There's a lot of power here. This is what you want. It doesn't say, yeah, I don't think that's really what you want. It just produces. All of life is mine to use for good. And all of life is mine to use for good. All right. You can do as much as you want to do. You can probably do more than you are. It's up to you. So all of life is yours to use. And this I do. Backed up by omnipotence, I determine my own results. I know the power behind me. Therefore, I get to choose what it is that I want. I have no one to blame for my mistakes, not even myself. Now, that one caught me off guard. I have no one to blame for my mistakes, not even myself. Okay, Ernest. I need a little explanation here. So that might be one worth taking into, treatment, into your meditations, and maybe what he means is there's no point in blaming. We make mistakes. What we do is when we make mistakes, we learn from them and we move on. There's no point in blaming. And I'll bet you that's what he means. Don't blame yourself. Just do better next time. It's like, learn your lessons. I'm gonna bet that that's what he means. My thinking. Oh wait. I refuse to believe that the world acts upon me, for I know that I act upon the world. That's where the power is. You always have the power to act on your world. It's not the world acting on you. At any time you can stand up to the world and go, nope. This is where your power stops. This is where your power. Society, culture, religion, they can tell you whatever they want, but you don't have to accept it. What you accept is between you and God. My thinking is my environment, and God is my heredity. God is my heredity. All right? So we can let go of, and I've heard this before. It's like, we can talk about genetic legacy. We do not have to accept genetic legacy. We can look at our genetics and go, okay, I see all of these problems and I choose not to accept them. Now, sometimes what that means is then we have to make different choices. For example, in my family, the genetic legacy of cardiovascular disease is pretty horrific. I am aware of this. I am choosing not to accept this, but this also means that there are things that that I will do, i.e., you know, I'm working on a more Mediterranean diet. I make sure that I exercise, so that, because I'm not accepting my genetic legacy, because I'm being guided to do things that support not accepting that genetic legacy, if that makes. But if you can practice hardball metaphysics and you can just simply say, I'm not accepting my genetic legacy, heredity, go for it. I fully support that. I'm just being guided to, these are the things that I do to not accept my genetic legacy. So, I alibi no longer. I face the facts of my own conclusions. I am determined to demonstrate what I want. And I accept the guidance that gets me there. Today, I have unlimited health. Spirit's life in me guarantees this. All right? As I praise life, health, strength, and vitality, they arise within me and give of themselves through me. Now, notice he said, as I praise. Okay? Gratitude is one of the most powerful powers out there. So whatever it is that you are choosing, praise that. Be grateful for it. So in this case, we're praising life, we're praising health, we're praising strength, we're praising vitality. I'm always down for praising vitality because it still means I can rest. It means I enjoy, but still rest, because I have the energy and the presence and the physicality and the mental and emotional to do what it is that I want to do. I like vitality. It's about living. And I like to live out loud. And then I don't. So, I am kind of quiet. Although you wouldn't know it from watching these. Right, Gabby? Where you going, baby? I shall not be tired at the end of this day, for I am constantly renewed by inner power. Come here. Come here. You're just out of the screen where they can hear you yelling, but they can't see you. Plug into the ultimate source. That if you got stuff to do and you want to get through it, plug into the ultimate source so that you can get to the end of the day. And it doesn't mean that you can't go to bed and rest and sleep, but you got the energy to get through what you want to do. God's mind in me is my source of health, and this mind never ceases thinking rightly about me. All right? That's why I like to talk about going back to God's idea of you. Because God's idea of you is perfect. It's whole. It's healthy. It's strong. It's all of those things. And God's mind never ceases to think that way about you. We change our mind about ourselves. Society, culture, all that. That changes its mind about us. But God never does. We are always going to be that perfect expression in God's mind. So when you are in doubt, go back to that idea. Go back to God's idea of you. Because God's idea of you is perfect and whole and loving and strong and all of those things that you are at the core of your being. Regardless of what your material expression is, the core of you. It never is defeated by my fears and confusion. All right? God's idea of me is never changed by me. All right? The expression of me, the material expression of me is changed by me. But the core idea of who I am, God's idea of me, I can't change that. And that's the good news. That's the good news. The whole perfect idea of me, the whole perfect idea of you in God's mind, we can't change that. It is forever the perfect idea of us. Our material expression, we can change that. And when we're done and ready to go back to God's idea of us, It's there waiting. I don't know about you, but I find that very comforting. It forever acts, and now I let its actions be my health and my vitality. Strong in the Lord, I accomplish without strain. All things are easy, all work is pleasure. And it can be with the right mental attitude. I rejoice in my God-given health. I rejoice in the power and the strength that are mine. Today, I have peace of mind. Why do I have peace of mind? Because I am using God's mind. And that's what I want. It matters not what others believe, nor what others do. I know God who created me, and I abide in God's love. Or you can say, I know Spirit who created me, and I abide in Spirit's love. Feel free to substitute the words in whatever way that make you feel. I refuse to let the material thinking of others influence me. Okay? I am not dependent upon the world. The world is dependent on me because I get to choose. All right? So the world is organized by the choices that I make. And I like the idea of I refuse to let the material thinking of others influence me. Sometimes the material thinking of others is good, and we'll learn something. And sometimes it's a bit messy, and yeah, we can choose not to accept that. Here's the one that I could not get through earlier. The contagion of evil will find no welcome in my consciousness. All right? There's nothing in me to accept it. There's nothing in me to propagate it. There's nothing in me that will accept evil. And he says, there is nothing in me to agree with it. Therefore, I cannot experience its falsities. I know a divine plan, a divine purpose, and a divine law of action, which is why evil cannot hold me. It doesn't mean I won't momentarily be confused, but it means that I can always turn back to the divine plan and see it for what it is. No thing. A misuse. This is my all-sufficiency. My peace comes from my knowledge of God as my source. Okay? My peace comes from the knowledge of God as my source, my life, and my deliverance. When you know who you are, peace is easy. And who are you? A beloved child of God. My demonstration is because I know so deeply that it must be. I give thanks that this is so. All right. How about we choose this for the mission of the day? Because there's some really good ones in here. Really good ones in here. But I'm going to go with this one as the mission for today. To refuse to let the material thinking of others influence us. I think that's a super important one. Especially coming out of, Christmas, because Christmas can be a very material holiday, and we keep up with the Joneses, and, you're driving by your neighbors, and they've got all of this stuff, and you're like, but, and it's like, so let's refuse to let the material thinking of others influence us. Let us know who we are. Let us go back to God's idea of who we are. Let's go back to that divine mind and that divine plan and that divine vitality. And just be who we are. Let's go back to God's idea of who we are. All right, beloveds, that's the mission. And as always, I'm going to also encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever it is. It is a spiritual practice. It is one that I want you to create as a habit. I want you to create as a default setting. I want it to be your first response so that when things get a little messy, get a little juicy, that's how you can respond. And if you can respond to yourself that way, then it means that you can respond to anybody that way. Because frequently, a loving, kind, compassionate response is easy to other people. It's harder when we need to do it for ourselves. So if we practice on ourselves, it's that much easier for other people. It also lets us create a bank to draw on when things get messy, because we're in relationship and it's going to happen. And then we respond in kindness, in love, in compassion, and we can go back to God's idea of who we are. All right, beloveds. I'm going to let the cat go back to sleep. She's behind me purring, going, would you leave me alone, lady? But I'm going to encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body, whatever it looks like today. We went for a ride in the fog today, so that was good. I'm going to encourage you to, well, I would say get a face full of sun, but if you live where I live, the cloud cover was pretty thick this morning. So, but bright light first thing in the morning, it'll help reset your hormones. It'll help wake you up. Because trust me, I was grumpy this morning. I definitely feel a whole lot better now. And drink plenty of water. Always. Hydration is super important. And whatever else you do, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven right here, right now. It is all around us. And all we have to do to find it is to do what Emma says. Look for the good and praise it. The power of praise and the power of gratitude is amazing. All right, beloveds. So I'm going to, well, it's Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. I do believe that they are doing the prayer circle today. So if you need that, that's at 7 Central. So email info@creativelife.org to get access to that. It's by Telebridge, which is a conferencing phone. And the practitioners that do it are amazing. So, please feel free to take advantage of that if you would like. And have a great day, an amazing day, a wondrous day. An explosive day. I'm thinking of New Year's, the fireworks, and I mean explosive in a good way, where just all kinds of good just explodes all over you. And an enchanting day, a magical day, a wondrous day, an awe-filled day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. And you are loved. You're a beloved child of God. So I will see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and we will close out this year. Not the book, just the year. I still have 4 months to go, or 3. Yeah. January, February, and March. So I'll start a new book in April. And we already have 2 selections, so take care of yourself and know that Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. on Facebook Live, and you can catch us on the social medias. I am the running Rev Ryan, and we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. So look us up if you need us. We're there. We've got a couple years of content at this point. So take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.